What's going on, guys? Chase here, and in today's video I am answering a question that I have held off for as long as I possibly can. So for the last couple months, Yamaha has let us loan this beautiful 2022 XSR900, and when I went out to the press launch of that motorcycle, I got a specific thought in my head. Am I going to sell my MT-10? Here's the thing, we got the brand new MT-10 launch coming up, so I got to wait for that. But this bike has me thinking, if I can't maximize this motorcycle, how am I supposed to have an MT-10? I feel like the lightweightness, the flickability of this bike, I think it suits me more, and personally, I like the way it looks more than my MT-10. So now that I've had a few months to treat this XSR as my daily rider, I've really been trying to dig into what bike do I want to keep having forward as my own personal bike. Do I stay with my tried and true MT-10 that I have personalized to be exactly what I want? Or do I spring for the new with the XSR900 that has seemingly won my heart? This is the decision I've been toiling with, and in today's video, we are making a final decision. 2019 MT-10 or 2022 XSR900, which should you buy or keep? Let's get into it. Before we get into it, guys, just want to let you know, if you are new here, obviously you're probably into motorcycles, and we make a ton of motorcycle content. So make sure to subscribe because there is plenty more of this style content where this one came from. But without further ado, let's get this question answered. So to start things off, let's give you stats nerds some love. We'll start with my 2019 MT-10. Power-wise, the CP4 in the MT-10 is giving us 158 horsepower and 81 foot-pounds of torque. The seat height is just under 33 inches, and altogether the bike weighs 462 pounds with a full tank of gas. Yamaha saw it fit to give the flagship naked a quick shifter and 3 pre-programmed power modes for rain, road, and rowdy. In the way of features, the 2019 MT-10 has ABS, traction control, cruise control, and a standard dash. Now for the 2022 XSR900, the CP3 here is going to be producing 117 horsepower and 68 foot-pounds of torque. The seat height might as well be 32 inches high, and after you top it off, the bike will weigh 425 pounds. For features, the XSR900 has power modes, traction control, slide control, cruise control, a 6-axis IMU, up and down quick shifter, and to top all of that off, a TFT dash. So guys, if there's one thing I say consistently, it's that in the matters of the heart, or in this case motorcycles, stats barely tell the story. In fact, in this case, they don't tell the story at all. With motorcycles, you gotta talk about how they make you feel, and I'm certainly not gonna tell you how these bikes make me feel while standing here. So let's jump on the bike and let's go over what I do and don't like about each bike. Alright guys, so on the MT-10, let's start out with the things I like, and the first one is gonna be the looks. Listen man, ever since I was a kid, I have always loved Transformers. We all know this year model MT-10 has super Decepticon vibes, and while I'm not a huge fan of being on the bad guys team, I'm totally here for looking like a freaking Decepticon. Next up is the sound of the MT-10. My fellow MT-10 riders out there will 100% know, other than an R1 because they share the same engine, no other motorcycle comes close to sounding as good as an MT-10 or an R1. There is a specific sound that CP4 gives you. The icing on top of the cake is that we have an SC Project exhaust on here, which is just hilariously loud. All I can tell you as I shift down is really nothing beats the sound of this motorcycle. It's like a muscle car. Who would not love that? Oh my God, I love this bike. So guys, as we're coming up to a couple twisty roads, next up we can talk about the smooth agility that the MT-10 has. Now, it is a 1000cc bike. It is a little bit heavy, but the bike is very agile in a smooth way because it's a little heavier, but it has a short wheelbase. And what that allows this bike to do is to have that heavy stability. That's one of the positives you get from having a heavier motorcycle, but the shorter wheelbase allows you to just throw this bike around. Anybody that's ridden an MT-10, I think, will be very surprised at how agile this bike is right out the gate. That's probably one of the things you're going to notice at first. And I remember when I first rode an MT-10, I was like, wow, this thing's got a lot of power. And then I started leaning it back and forth. I was like, holy crap, and it's agile? That's a weird combo. So for the next thing, I got to combine the two things I literally just said. So I told you guys that the bike is a little heavier and it has a ton of power. Those things combined with the sound give it this motorcycle a very like I'm sorry. Those things combined make this motorcycle feel like the most quintessential American muscle car version of a motorcycle. It sounds beefy, it's kind of heavy, it's got gobs of power, and that really gives me these nostalgia vibes, because when I was a kid, those are the cars I wanted. I wanted a muscly Mustang or a Camaro or something like that. And I feel like that's kind of in the DNA of the MT-10, and it just makes me love this motorcycle all the more that it has that old school muscle car kind of package to it. Finally, guys, the thing I love so much about this bike, and there's a lot of bikes like this in the class, but it's the customizability. The MT-10, ever since it launched, has been incredibly popular, and because of that, third-party companies end up making a ton of things for this motorcycle. I thought there was a cop behind me for a second. I even got chills and everything. But what that does is allow you, the rider, to customize the heck out of this motorcycle. This is also a great platform to customize because you have a ton of power. So things that I've done on this bike is I've given it a taller windscreen. I've got the comfort seat that Yamaha offers. I've got the side bags. I've got the tank bag that I can just magnetize on. So I've personally taken this motorcycle to a more touring state, but you can get all types of modifications to really make this motorcycle exactly what you want as a rider, and I love that about it. All right, guys, so that's a lot of positives about the bike, but the bike's not perfect. Let's talk about some of the negatives. One, this bike has 3 power modes. Power modes 1, 2, and 3. And if you ride this bike in mode 1, it is very snatchy. Typically, this is where I would put the bike in mode 1 and then ride it around. I do not like riding this bike in mode 1 at all. Even if it's a perfectly clear day, I don't like a snatchy throttle, and that is one major issue that this bike has, is that mode 1 power delivery. Next up, we made an entire video about this, but it's the gas mileage. You guys out there that ride MT-10s know we don't get great gas mileage. Part of that is that the bike is very fun to ride quickly, but that CP4 does not do you any favors when it comes to gas. If you end up using this bike in like a touring way, you will be stopping for gas quite often. It's one of the things you got to deal with. While we're stopped at this stop sign, I can tell you guys one of the other things I don't like about the MT-10, and that is that screen. Look at it. Look at it in its ugly glory. Now listen, I'm a huge Pokemon fan, right? I started liking Pokemon when that stuff was on a green screen Game Boy. And that was fine for Pokemon. It is not fine for my MT-10. I think that screen is ridiculous, and the fact that I don't have a TFT drives me nuts. I am happy to say the brand new MT-10 does have a TFT, so good on Yamaha for updating it. But this screen is not helping us out. This bike is so much better than that screen. All right, guys, so that's about it for the MT-10. Let's pull a little bike swap, and let's talk about the XSR900. Alright, so guys, let's start off with things I like about the XSR, and there's no way I can start anywhere but the looks. This bike, you guys know I'm here for this whole like old school looking new bike, and I think it is dang near perfected on the XSR. I love all the curvy styling. You guys have heard me say that in multiple videos. And this blue, I don't think we can do it justice on camera, but Yamaha has such a good blue on this motorcycle. And you guys know I'm typically a red guy, so for me to like blue is kind of like counter to everything, right? But I could go on. I could make an entire video about the looks of this motorcycle and how all these little accent pieces just come together in such a great package. Had to start with looks. Next up on the things I like is the exhaust. Now, it doesn't sound the throatiest, right? It kind of has that kind of triple whine, if you will. But the thing I love about this exhaust is the placement, and I obviously can't show you guys from a GoPro view, but the placement of the exhaust, that low-hanging exhaust, and how it allows for... I think my GoPro just turned off. Hey, I can get off and show you guys the exhaust. The GoPro is going. Everything is going. So what's happening? All right, well, while we're here, I'll get off and show you guys the exhaust. That low-hung exhaust with the clear tail, like look how clean that tail section is, you know, if you cut that off. It's freaking solid, and it is my favorite. It doesn't sound the best. It doesn't sound bad, though. Super medium of the road. All right, guys, so my next thing that I really love about the XSR900, we talk about it in plenty of videos, but the XSR900 has an extended swing arm as compared to the MT-09 and MT-09 SP that it's based on, and that makes for the ride to be so much more stable. It gives this bike a whole other level of like ability to ride really hard. And you guys know I've tamed down in my years, but I do like to ride hard generally. I love going to the mountains. I love really pushing motorcycles. And with the stability of that longer swing arm on the XSR900, I feel more comfortable doing that, which directly leads to me really enjoying this motorcycle a lot. Alright guys, next thing up is the power of the motorcycle, because what would be the point of an extended swing arm if you didn't have a good power plant to push the motorcycle through the turns? And the CP3 is so good, especially if you find the right power mode and traction control options to allow you to wheelie it. Anybody that throttles up a CP3 will have a smile on their face, and if they don't, check their pulse. They may not be living any longer. Guys, the CP3 is one of my top 4 or 5 favorite engines in a motorcycle right now. I think Yamaha has something really special with this engine. And I will say this bike is very different at how it puts power down compared to the MT-10. The MT-10's power is very grunty and torquey, whereas the power of the CP3 is very sharp and agile like a knife. It's really hard to explain the way each bike is. The CP3 and CP4 engines are just, they're such good power plants. I love them both, but they are, I don't know if they could be any more different with the way they make you feel as they're delivering power to the ground. All right, guys, final thing I'm going to touch on with the XSR900, since we're kind of on a shady little back road here, is the electronics. Now, the XSR900 has what I can only describe as the holy grail of electronics. It's got the IMU, the ABS, the quick shifter, blah, 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 slide control. It literally has everything, and I do mean everything, a rider could want in the way of electronics on a motorcycle. Most of the time, for the vast majority of riders, that is going to be preferred. It certainly has more electronics than the MT-10. And that gives you a level of confidence as a rider, at least an average everyday rider, the bike's got your back in case anything kind of crazy happens. You know, in these roads and back streets and stuff that aren't as normally maintained, you never know when you're going to hit a patch of oil or dirt in a turn. And just to know that you've got a good traction control system and IMU to help you out, it allows me to ride with far more confidence. I don't know if it lets me ride faster, but it lets me ride with more confidence knowing that the bike's got my back, or at least the electronics of the bike does. It's a good feeling. I love having it. Wish the MT-10 had more. As I end out here, we can start talking about the things I do not like on the XSR900. Wheelie Hill, baby! Alright guys, let's talk about some things that I am not so big of a fan of the XSR, starting with the screen. Ooh, Chase complains about the screens on both motorcycles? Yes, he does. Now, I can already hear you guys typing, Chase, you didn't like the digital screen on the MT-10, and now you got a color TFT on the XSR900, and you don't like that either. Well, what the hell do you like? Yamaha screens, this TFT dash, the new one that they have, is heads and tails over the MT-10 screen. This is a better screen if we're going screen to screen. But I feel like there are such better screens out there, and speaking as somebody that has ridden a lot of motorcycles, I get a lot of exposure to what's in the market, and I don't think Yamaha is leading the screen department by any stretch of the imagination. Is this one better? Yes. Am I content and happy and would never want anything else? No. I think Yamaha can definitely do some work in the screen department, so yeah. Don't like the screen on either motorcycle. So guys, the next thing I don't like on the XSR900, I've screamed about it since I got on this bike, and I will continue screaming about it, is the scroll wheel from hell. Now, it functionally, it does its job, but I hate this scroll wheel so much that I never make any setting changes on the screen because I hate the way it works. And the way it works is you scroll this thing around and it changes your settings. But what happens is when you press it in, you got to press it and then it rolls on you. And if it rolls on you, go to something else or you don't select anything at all. Some of you guys might be saying, well, Chase, that's just because you're riding. When you're not riding, it's probably not that bad. You, my friend, are incorrect. That scroll wheel is just as bad even when I'm off the motorcycle. We've done a couple shots where I'm off the XSR900 and I'm trying to get some shots of the screen, and I'm standing next to it and I'm still having a problem getting that thing to work. I wish it had more resistance or something. I wish Yamaha could do something with it. I hope they do something, they adjust it in the future, because right now it spins too easy. It needs to spin a little less. And I know I seem like I'm making a big deal out of a tiny thing, but man, when you've got a bike this good, the little things matter the most at that point because you have everything else figured out. So, end of rant on wheel, just saying. Alright, I'm just going to explore because this doesn't look like anything's happening. I don't have any faith with that. Super curious what the hell happened at that intersection to cause that much of a backup. Man, that's crazy. Okay, the light definitely sucks. I just circumnavigated all of that traffic. Alright guys, final thing I want to touch on with the XSR is the lack of protection. And when I mean protection, I mean to the elements for the rider. Now, to be fair, the MT-10 didn't have, like, stock doesn't have a lot of protection either, but the MT-10 is a motorcycle that I can modify out and add things to it, like that big windscreen like I did. Now, for the XSR900, one, I don't really want to add anything to this motorcycle because it's too gorgeous, but protection is really necessary if you're looking at doing anything like a long-distance ride or touring. Right now, as a rider, I am fully open to the elements, and there's not really much I can do about it, which kind of becomes a problem if you like spending a lot of time on the motorcycle, which I do. And guys, that is about it for my high-level things I like and don't like about the XSR900. As you can see, These things are small, so my problem is big. Now guys, as you guys can see, neither of these motorcycles are perfect, but dang it if they are not incredible machines. Hopefully this has kind of helped you out realize why this decision has been so hard for me. Now to make the big decision. Which of the bikes am I choosing to ride off into the future? It's gotta be my trusty MT10. Hear me out before you roast me in the comments. I loved both of these motorcycles and this decision was incredibly hard. So let me tell you a few of the things that helped me make the decision on the MT10 being my continued future bike. Customizability was a big one. I enjoy buying a motorcycle and making it my own, and right now the MT10 has an enormous amount of aftermarket support. The XSR900 is already amazing and I wouldn't want to do anything to it, which means I couldn't really make it my own. Secondly is the type of ride. The XSR900 is an amazing bike that handles really well, but what I've noticed is the light and flicky nature isn't something I really prefer on the day-to-day. I honestly prefer the heavier and more stable feeling of the bigger MT10. There is something about being on a heavier bike that I just personally prefer sometimes, and this is one of those times. Going back to the looks real quick, when I pick a bike to be my own, I want to feel that I want to ride that bike through thick and thin, through the hot summer days, through annoying showers, and through freezing winter mornings. The MT10 inspires me to want to take on that challenge of riding a motorcycle and being in the elements, while the XSR900 is a gorgeous machine that I honestly don't want to get dirty. Watermarks on my MT10 are a sign of what I've been through, where dirt on the XSR is something that needs to be removed. The final thing about the MT10 is something that I haven't really talked about on this channel before, and that's that this MT10 holds a special place in my heart. When I went to pick this MT10 up from Yamaha as a press loan, I was honestly at a stage of my riding career where, I hate to say this, but motorcycles honestly just didn't excite me. Looking back on it now, I know that it was because I hadn't found the right bike for me yet, but the moment I rode this MT10 out of the parking lot, my face lit up, and at that moment, the motorcycle spark returned, stronger than ever before. And I honestly consider the MT10 to match that flame. All riders are at different places in their riding career, so the MT10 isn't going to be the perfect bike for everyone. But for me, this is the perfect bike, and I don't see myself getting rid of this bike anytime soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it helped you decide which bike might be best for you. I'm Chase, this is my MT10, and I'll see you on the next one. Outro crew, thank you for getting to the end of the video. Make sure to put OC in your comment down below, and you guys know what I'm gonna ask you. You picking my MT10, or are you picking the brand new 2022 XSR900? Let us know which one and why in the comments down below. We love you guys a little bit longer for getting to the end of the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Later. Bye. This chair didn't fall somehow, it stuck to my butt.